Yeah.
La da 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 da. Snoop Dogg, motherfucker.
Gus, it's in the bag. UFC 163.
No mas.
Done. Over with. Let's start
With the John Lineker catchweight fight because he couldn't make weight.
He could not make weight.
Old Snacks McGillicuddy. And the
So
first
it ended up
round
being 129.
Yeah, and the first round was interesting because I thought Jose Maria, my pick, was going to win this because...
And George was jumping up and down in my living room with a complete hard-on looking like an army tank because he's like, oh, your boy's getting fucked up in the Battle of the Mohawks.
Battle of the Roosters.
Yep. But my rooster won.
Yep.
I had the better cock.
But he didn't make weight.
But he didn't make weight, so he probably had to forfeit some of his money. But it was a good fight.
Yes.
Either way, they were banging. They stood in the middle and threw punches, and in the end, John Lineker was your winner. Now, in a middleweight battle.
I picked this one right. Just saying.
He did. I was going with our buddy across the pond, Tom Watson, but Thales looked really good, man.
He just punished Watson for
He
all
really
three
did.
rounds. And, I mean, obviously the refs got this one right, or at least saw it this way because they gave Thales the UD.
All of them went 30-27.
It was an entertaining 3 rounds. Wasn't very slow, very action-packed, high intensity.
Yeah, but like you said, Leites got the job done. The people of Brazil were very happy about that.
Who'd you pick in this next fight?
The next fight, it was funny. If you guys recall our first video, our preview video.
Who'd you pick in this fight?
I picked Thiago Santos. Yeah, I know. See, George. I picked Thiago Santos. But if you guys recall, we said
George
this was
picked Cezar.
Yeah, he picked Cezar by default because I jumped. We both knew nothing about either one of these fighters, so we were like.
And I jumped on Cezar like he jumped on Thiago and tapped this man out. It was quick and it was impressive because he gave up top position to try to pull this choke off. And
so he was very confident.
Yeah, and it showed because he rolled right over and choked homeboy out.
He did. Thiago Santos didn't look like he was in this at all at any point in the fight.
Well, it's hard to judge because it was only 47 seconds long. So
yes. Now let's tune into the fights. Obviously, not taking away anything from the Brazilians over on this card. But
oh, do you remember that cereal with the guy, or actually those guys who wear the black and white striped things? They usually wear a mask like this. You know what I'm talking about? Like they look like they just might have stole something. They have a sack and they're running away with it. What do you call? You call those what? Thieves? Criminals? Yeah. That's what the judges did to Lyoto Machida.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing. Somewhere along the way,
horrible.
It was, you know, we sat there and watched the fight, and, you know, obviously Phil Davis got the decision, and it was a unanimous decision because it went 29-28 on all the judges' scorecards. And why it went like this, I understand why it went like this, but it was still a fucking robbery. If you looked at that fight and you looked at Phil Davis and you looked at all the significant fights and somebody actually significant strikes by Machida, he won the fight. He easily won the fight. And there was some on Twitter, there was somebody that said, yeah, they don't give you, the UFC has no type of point system for takedown defense. When you stuff 1 million takedowns and then at the very end of the round, the guy takes you down, gets a couple punches, and you're going to give him the round. I just think that is a fucked up way to score the fight. And I'm curious to see how Dana White is going to react to that, because sometimes Dana White is
very critical of the judges.
He's very critical of the judges. And when we're watching the fight, I'm watching the first round, and I'm like, okay, Machida's getting the best of him, standing up. You know, Phil Davis, and I will say this, Phil Davis' stand-up looked a lot better.
Oh, much improved.
But it wasn't improved to the point where he was getting shots in on Machida, and he was doing absolutely no damage to Machida. He was getting stuffed. All his takedowns were getting stuffed by Machida. And so...
Well, not in the first round.
Phil
Davis went 1 for 1 in takedowns in the first round. He was 1 for 2 in the second, and then he got none out of the 5. So
I thought he shot in a couple more times in the second round.
He was 2 for 7 on takedowns, or 2 for 6, 2 for 7.
I think it might have been more than that, man.
Put it this way: if my guy stuffs 5 of your takedowns and you only land 2, how do you end up? And he did no damage.
No, he did nothing. I mean, he took, first of all, because the takedowns. I can understand if he accomplished these takedowns earlier in the round, where all of a sudden now you've taken Machida out of his game, so he can no longer, you know, land significant strikes, and you're on the ground and doing your ground and pound thing. So now the round goes to you. But when you do it with 30 seconds left in the round and you get a couple strikes in and you've done nothing to that point, really, in my opinion, in the round, then how the fuck do you win the round?
Because the Hamburglar was the one judge.
And you know what? It wasn't like George and I were surprised because we sat there and go, you know, they might give him the first round because he took him down. They might give him the second round because he took him down. And when they announced who won the fight, we just kind of looked at each other like, oh, okay, there you go. I felt bad for Machida.
I do too.
Because I felt like he was deserving and he won this fight. And,
put it this way, neither one of them should get a title shot.
No, I don't think either one of them should get a title shot. I mean, I think Machida's already lost to John Jones. I don't even think Phil Davis is, you know, I mean, obviously if someone's going to fight John Jones, I think I'd rather see Phil Davis fight John Jones than Machida fight him again, but I just don't feel like he won this fight. I really don't, you know, and I think even if you're a Phil Davis fan, you got to really, are you excited? If you're a Phil Davis fan or if you wanted Phil Davis to win this fight, you got to really ask yourself, were you impressed with his victory? I mean, the only thing to me that was somewhat impressive is that his striking got a little better. That's it.
See, that same question I'd like to ask all the Rory McDonald fans. Were
Yeah,
you impressed with his win?
Yeah. Now, moving on to the main event, that was the featherweight championship fight between Jose Aldo and Chan Sung Jung.
And Jose Aldo, according to Twitter at this point, not Twitter, but Wikipedia, won via TKO. Shoulder explosion.
Ruptured shoulder. And we know he didn't rupture. We're actually hitting fucking the Korean Zombie, hitting him on the back of the head, ruptured the Korean Zombie's shoulder. Now, what was interesting about this fight, and George and I looked, Aldo had won all 3 rounds.
Oh, easily.
He had easily won all 3 rounds, but
he started, it looked like the Zombie was starting to like come into his own along the end of the 3rd round, and coming into the 4th round, he was starting to pick it up a little bit. He's starting to move. I mean, Aldo hits hard, but I don't think
he doesn't hit hard like somebody who throws a punch and ruptures the shoulder. That pretty much defines it. The motherfucker threw a punch and ruptured his shoulder on throwing a punch at Aldo. I mean,
I don't think the Korean Zombie would have won, but I think a full 4th round and a full 5th round would have been very entertaining to watch.
It was very obvious that Aldo respected his power. And in the 2nd round, George and I both caught it. The Korean Zombie caught Aldo, and no one said anything about it, but you could see Aldo like backed up and kind of his eyes got white, and I'm thinking, okay, he just felt this kid's power, and it's impressive. And it's interesting as the fight was going on. I'm thinking, man, Aldo will get tired and things can swing. It would remind me a lot of that Dan Henderson Shogun fight. Oh
yeah, where Dan Henderson dominated the 1st, the 2nd was a push, and the 3rd was a war.
Yeah,
but Dan Henderson was getting tired.
He was getting tired.
I guess I understand you get excited when you win. I don't want to sit here and bash Aldo's corner, but I mean, his corner seemed way too excited to win that the way they did. And the other thing I'd like to point out, and in my opinion, the angle that Herb Dean had when the Zombie throws that punch and he goes back like this, and I'm just thinking, as an experienced referee, I would think, if I was Herb Dean, and a fighter literally goes like this and takes one hand and clutches his arm and goes like this, you might step in, call time, see if the guy's okay. I mean, how is that any different than getting poked in the eye or kicked in the nuts?
Well, it's not a foul. You know what I'm saying?
But the guy is literally
if you get
hurt
kicked in the nuts or if it poked in the eye, that's looked at differently than if your shoulder gets hurt. Because if your shoulder's if a part of your body or anything is hurt, then, and it's caught, it's not a foul, like me poking your eye or doing something, that's illegal. You know, so they're going to stop the fight on that.
I just thought Herb Dean was going to step in.
Herb Dean?
Yeah, Herb. I call him Herb Dean for whatever. I thought he was going to step in a lot sooner because Aldo then gets off 4 or 5 kicks, takes him to the ground. And look, I understand what Aldo's doing. He's a shark. He sees blood. He wants to finish the fight. I understand. Why weren't you that aggressive at any other time during the fight?
You know what's, well, I think that's the whole thing. I think that Aldo was not that aggressive because he felt the Zombie's power that one time. And he's like, okay,
Zombie power,
shorty. Yeah.
He's afraid he's getting his face eaten.
Yeah, and
Trump was gonna get to him.
He was. but the Zombie power comes hard, shorty. He was gonna Gangnam style him. He was worried about it.
And his cousin Dong was teaching him how to come hard.
I'm telling you, man. But I think that he really had a lot of respect for the Korean Zombie's power. I really do. And I think that he was being tentative to rush in because he's like, if this guy hits me and catches me, it could be a wrap. And I think somewhere along in the first 2 rounds, he felt him, he connected. And I think it was in the 2nd round when we saw him, he's like, oh shit, this guy could put me to sleep.
I hope this kid doesn't need shoulder surgery. And I hope he comes back from it.
I'm going to tell you what, I would love to see a rematch.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little boring, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. Not boring. It was just a very slow-paced fight, and I think everyone was expecting the pace to come out and get pushed. And you know what? I'm going to retract what I said about in the preview. I mean, I don't know how many of you people actually watch our videos.
Right.
But I fully expected Lyoto Machida to be way more active in his striking, to get in and out. And I think what threw him off was Phil Davis's movement. In that fight. I don't think anyone expected Phil Davis to come out and use the hands, the head, the feinting, the moving around. So it was a little harder for Machida.
Yeah.
But I also thought the pace of the Aldo fight was going to be a little turned up, at least to about an 8. They came out and were stuck in neutral at some point.
And you know what? That's where I think what hurt the Korean Zombie up until that point is because he didn't push it. And you know, the commentators were saying, hey, this is good for Aldo. He was expecting a much faster pace. This pace is slower. He's not going to get exhausted. There's not as much wrestling involved. There's not as much backing up. And he looked pretty comfortable. But at that 4th round, the Korean Zombie's corner had him picking up the pace. You saw Aldo's jaw dropping a little bit. He was connecting a little bit. And I'm thinking, okay, it could change.
So what do you think? All right, let's go backtrack real quick. We'll just end this. What do you see for Phil Davis next? We'll just talk about for the winners.
I mean, obviously, you're going to look at whoever comes out on top with the Jones-Gustafsson fight. And
no, there's no way. There's no way he gets a title fight.
They're gonna who's better? He just beat the #1 contender. That's the 205 class is weak right now. You know, no wonder Chael Sonnen says, "Fucking, I'm going to the 205 class."
Chael P. Sonnen.
Huh?
Why not? Give him another shot. So what's next for Aldo? Change weight? Stay home?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, man. After this, I mean, I couldn't see him fighting guys like I would have been very interested to see him fighting Anthony Pettis. I don't know if he could beat Pettis.
You going to talk about your theory on that? You enlighten him?
Yeah, well, my conspiracy theory, everybody, was with the, obviously you see that Anthony Pettis is fighting Henderson at the end of the month. And it was funny because Pettis got hurt. He was supposed to fight Jose Aldo, and all of a sudden he got hurt. And he wasn't able to fight in that fight. Now, miraculously, he's fighting, and 4 weeks later, he's fighting Vincent Henderson. In my conspiracy,
hangnail.
That he had a hangnail, something like that. You know, maybe hangnail, turf toe, bad case of VD, something broke out or something. I don't know. Who knows what it was? But anyway,
here's another question.
It's the thing is why my whole thing was that he's fighting Henderson, and it's like, okay, now you've got 2 good cards. You got the Korean Zombie and Jose Aldo, and now you've got Henderson fighting the only man who's really beat him, Pettis. So that makes for a good card. And now Pettis gets a shot at the light heavyweight title, you know, and it's only 4 weeks later. You're fighting probably a harder fight. Well, you're fighting a man that you've already beat, but it's like, okay, do you think what I said, like, hey, maybe White looked at him and said, look, why don't you just be hurt, whatever, I'll give you a little bit of money.
Get that nail trimmed up.
Get that nail fixed up, and I'm going to give you a shot at the lightweight title. That way you put somebody else in the fight. Aldo, and now you got 2 good cards in the month of August. Makes a lot of sense to me, because he came off that injury really quick. What was you ready to say?
So I'm in the grocery store and I'm trying to buy salsa.
Salsa?
Salsa. Because I put that shit on that dry ass meat I eat.
Oh, yeah.
Because how else do you make it taste good?
Yeah.
Mild, medium. The fuck is the difference between mild and medium?
Mild is just like nothing. Medium's got like a little.
Why can't you just call it salsa and then medium and hot?
I don't even know.
This shit makes no sense.
I just get hot.
Mild, medium, or hot?
I just get hot.
I had to go to the ethnic grocery store to get hot salsa today.
The mugs go hard in the ethnic store.
Yeah, because you
go to the World Market or something like that, you can get some shit you just like breathe fire.
Yeah, or
my
shit
boy
fire.
has a wing shop. His hot sauce. It's called the Super Cock. Okay, seriously.
I'm not eating anything called Super Cock.
I went in there and
put the Super. Okay, can I get the Super Cock in my mouth?
Yeah, that's what it's called. The cock, the Super Cock, or whatever. And that's what it is. And seriously, the shit got in his eye. You had to go to the hospital. It's so hot. I remember I went in there and I was like, yeah, I'd like to get 12.
This Riley Cooper ain't eating nothing with the word cock in it, near it, around it, or on it.
You know, Riley Cooper is our new word for ninja or N-bomb. You know, 'cause we don't say the N-bomb, right? I just say, man, George, that's my Riley Cooper, man. Use my Riley Cooper, man. Use a crazy Riley Cooper. We getting the fuck out of this.
Oh, in case any of y'all were looking for Chetch Congo, he works in Maryland and he delivers pizza for Papa John's in the Bama
He came up to our house.
Velcro shoes.
He does. The motherfucker's straight Velcro. Oh, he got the Velcros. I was ready to say it when you sit at my front door, but I mean, you know.
Ooh, he might have snuck you.
He was looking for a come up.
He got the Velcro.
All right, man, we out of here, man. Hey.
Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is fucking awesome.